I thought we were. So now we're going live.
We're there yet?
We are live.
Hey.
So this is our 5th Wednesday live stream session with SPOCRA. And I'm really thrilled today because we have a special guest. His name is James Dunseith. He's an amazing human being, and the work that he's doing in the Cardano ecosystem is just incredible. So I'd like you to introduce yourself really quick, and then we'll go over a quick agenda.
Cool. Ron, thank you. And back at you, you're an amazing human being too. It's been really fun getting to know you, man. And when you talk about, building for children, and for generations to come, I feel so at home whenever we're talking. So thanks for letting me come join you today. Yeah, my name is James. I am one of the 3 co-founders of Gimbal Labs, which is an organization that actually started a year ago tomorrow, in its very infancy when Fund 1 of Project Catalyst launched. Right after this call, you and I are going to head off to Fund 6 launch of Project Catalyst. So what a year.
First, we have to have a birthday party.
we need a Catalyst birthday party. There's a lot of things to celebrate. There's a lot of deep breaths that we all get to take together, because it's been an adventurous year and certainly exhausting. But I mean, damn, like you said before we went live, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, right? We are on an adventure, and it's got lots of twists and turns, and it's super exciting. So yeah, we 3 founders, Roberto, Julie, and I met during Fund 2 of Project Catalyst. My ideas around project-based learning, which is a really critical movement in education. That's we're a few decades into the work that's being done around PBL. And Roberto's work as an SPO and a DevOps engineer led him to becoming an infrastructure provider. And we saw that my ideas around project-based learning, Roberto's ideas around building infrastructure, and Julie's patient and incisive insights, we really hit it off with each other and had a chance to start building something. We got a successful proposal through, and then we just started working, and the work we were doing started resonating with people. So we've been gradually, for the last 6 or 8 months, learning how to welcome people in to conversations, or to use the tools that we are still in the process of rolling out. And it's been super exciting. Got to meet you along the way.
Yeah, I saw what you guys were doing, and I was actually during one of the Catalyst town halls, and I was like mental note, I need to go back to that because that looks awesome. And then I saw you guys doing a YouTube video, and then I jumped in. I made a comment, and you guys were really receptive, and I was like, yeah, I gotta check out this playground. This is awesome. And then once I did, I was like, this is awesome. So without further ado, actually, I want to pull up the agenda for today so we can review that. Share my screen. Oops. All right.
Oh, I love it.
So this is SPOCRA and Gimbal Labs getting together today. So James, you touched a little bit about who you are, what Gimbal Labs is, but I'd like to go a little bit further, maybe a little more on your background, a little deeper dive into Gimbal Labs, what you guys are doing, why you started it, how you guys are making this all happen, like what you're doing with incubation and stuff like that. And then we want to talk about the changing landscape in the Cardano ecosystem. So what the changing landscape means that us as SPOs and business owners, we need to see what's coming and take some proactive steps to making sure that we're gonna keep thriving in this environment. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about opportunities within Gimbal Labs, and then we'll just touch on some upcoming things. And then if anyone else jumps in later, we'll take some questions. If not, then we'll head off to the town hall. So let's get it.
Love it.
Stop this right here. So who is James Dunseith?
Well, I have two kids who are a blast to spend some time with, and they're 7 and 9 years old, and they know how to read and talk about ideas and play games. And so that's really the core part of my life. And another thing that you and I have compared notes on is both being musicians. So I think there's a lot of musicians in the Cardano space. We're going to have to do something with that eventually. But the work that brought me here is that I am an educator. For my entire adult life, I've been teaching first high school math, a little bit of computer science, taught AP computer science, bunch of advisory, outdoor cycling, tried to touch on all interests and work at schools where education wasn't just kids sitting in chairs being told what to do, but really like being pushed to have experiences. And that's where my interest in project-based learning comes from. And a couple of years ago, I left the classroom first to work at a startup that was providing coaching to teachers to adopt project-based learning. And then actually, Ron, this is something that you and I haven't had a chance to talk about yet. I know that part of your background is in neuroscience. Did I hear you say that a couple of weeks ago?
I took some classes on that. I went to a summer camp, like straight out of high school for that. But I decided not to pursue that after I realized like how slow moving that field is. And like, I would just literally be doing, like when you're working in neuroscience, it's just a lot of experiments and just collecting data, and it can be really monotonous. It's more exciting reading the papers, finding out like the results of the experiments than actually doing them. But so I'm still very interested in neuroscience, but yeah, I decided not to continue with those studies.
We live in a golden age of armchair neuroscience. What you can get reading. That's one of my favorite things to do is just catch up and read what's coming out. But for the last few years, I had fallen in with a group of UC Irvine neuroscientists and researchers who started an organization called Mind Research Institute. And their main product is software for elementary school students. It's called ST Math. And there's no words. Kids are basically confronted with puzzles over and over and over again. And they just have to figure out what's going on in these puzzles. And eventually, they start to create hypotheses around what's going on. And the teacher's role is not to stand there and upfront just load the kids up with content and say, repeat after me. The teacher's role is simply to coach kids on how to be observant and how to gain autonomy in the work they're doing. And then eventually to put names on concepts, right? Oh, that thing where you're adding over and over again, that's called multiplication. So I had the privilege of spending a couple of years traveling around to elementary schools, teaching teachers how to use this software. And it was, I loved that work. I loved it. And my job was typically to walk into a room of cynical people who would say, what is this game? What is this thing you're putting in front of me? Why are there no instructions? Why doesn't it just tell my kids what to do? And I would say, well, let's go into the neuroscience. Let's talk about why it doesn't just tell your kids what to do. And let's try to figure this out together. And if you're, maybe you recognize some parallels between that kind of work and what we're trying to do here in Cardano, right? Mm-hmm. We are asking people to work harder at first for long-term benefits.
Right.
What do you mean you want me to hold my keys? You know, what do you mean you don't want me to use Google OAuth? You want me to consider using self-sovereign identity, right? This is something that's coming down the road for us, but it's closer than we think. It's hard work to show people the value of the engagement they're going to have to make with a protocol like Cardano. And I just find that so gratifying and so exciting that all of us here get to do some of that work together. And I'm sure, you know, looking at the agenda and seeing the changing landscape for SPOs, I think there's some parallels there as well. So that's kind of the biographical part. The blockchain part for me is that I knew about Bitcoin. I wasn't that interested in the trading part, but when I heard about smart contracts, I was like, okay, like that's going to be really exciting. Let's start looking at this. I fell down the Cardano rabbit hole in late 2017 with a bunch of other people and read and followed, but was super busy doing that work with Mind. But that's where this idea of watching these parallels, right? The work I was doing and my growing interest in Cardano, I just kept noticing these connections until I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, this protocol has as much potential as the educational tools, whether it's project-based learning or this or that software, to maybe level up people's autonomy broadly. So a year ago, when Project Catalyst started, I gave notice at Mind and said, hey, I need to go on a sabbatical. I need to go on this adventure. And here we are a year later, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go back, even though I have a lot of love and affection for that. The work here has really started to catch on, and it's been really exciting to be building Gimbal Labs.
Yeah, and I think the work that we're doing is going to be so much more impactful for humans, like globally. It's like, why would you want to go back to like that compartmentalized like work where like you're really limited in what you can do, like in terms of reach for other humans. So I mean, I'm passionate about continuous improvement, and that's where my career has led me. And then once I caught wind of Cardano and like what their mission was, and like banking the unbanked and creating this like free economic landscape for everybody, like it was just like, that's a no-brainer. I'm jumping in. So I'm with you.
Let's go. A lot of people feel powerless right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even matter how true that is. If you feel powerless, that has implications, right? And I know what that looks like in students. I know what it looks like in teachers, and we all know what it looks like in citizens, right?
And going back to like what you said with that program where it was a little more difficult at first. The difficult part of it, I think, is taking responsibility for learning something that you don't already know, like without somebody telling you or giving it to you, you know? So that, like, yes, it's a little bit more difficult right now that we have to have these really long strings that are our keys. But guess what? It's the ownership aspect that is the power that we have, the responsibility of owning something that if we lose it, it's on us. And that's the difficult part. The keys, like, yeah, we're going to get to human readable addresses and stuff like that. It'll get easier, but the owning it is the difficult part that we're going to, like, that's really what is going to empower us as humans, when instead of someone else owning everything else and we're just kind of leasing it and using it and getting things from someone else, like, we take the power back.
That's it. That's it. So how do we do it?
Well, through Gimbal Labs, right?
Well, one of my favorite lessons of the last year has been really understanding the implications of decentralization. And I've really come to equate decentralization with positive sums, right? There's no need for one approach to be at the expense of another, because in a decentralized world, there's the idea is that anybody can find the approach that most resonates with them. And some people, our approach works, and others it doesn't, right? And so what we're really trying to do here with Gimbal Labs is, first of all, to coexist with other organizations, right? Obviously, there's the big three bringing Cardano into the world, right? This first year of Catalyst has yielded Gimbal Labs, WADA, SPOCRA came together. When was SPOCRA founded? Right.
Actually, just about a year ago as well.
Yeah, right. So within the last year, right, these organizations are popping up. I think about like NFL coaching family trees, you know that this guy trained on this guy's staff, blah, blah, blah. Like you're starting to see that, right? So Roberto was once at Emergo. He's a co-founder of Gimbal Labs.
Sebastian was at Emergo.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's going to be, there's going to be young devs who learn at DC Spark and then go do their own thing. And the whole purpose of Gimbalabs Playground is to say, hey, come stay for as long as you need to, right? Whether that's a week or for years. But when you're, if you feel like you have an idea that you want to pursue on your own, if you kind of like the idea of Playground or Gimbal Labs, but there's a way you'd want to do it differently, here, go do it, right? And this is what we're going to see. And ideally, collaborations happen, right? You and I talking right now and knowing the variety of work we get to do. I'm just over the moon every time I get to talk to Mercy about the ways our infrastructure is going to help their learning endeavors. So yeah, this is what the world can be, and what the constellation is measured in, a couple dozen organizations right now, but it's going to be hundreds and it's going to be thousands, and people are going to be able to find their place.
So that's a good transition point right there. Actually, so we're going to be onboarding more people, people with different skill sets. There's going to be enterprise level coming in. Right now, I don't know if they're at the door, but we're not like 100% ready, or they're not 100% comfortable with coming in, but believe it, they're coming. So what can individual SPOs as business owners do with the changing landscape? That's kind of what I want to talk about. So SPOCRA has already been talking about this for probably the last couple of weeks. So we want to continue talking about this as we move forward, just so that people start thinking about it and people get prepared. So there's going to be protocol parameter changes. So the big one that we've talked about is, sorry. Sorry about that. Put my phone on mute. So yeah, protocol parameter changes. The pledge curve factor is going to be probably the biggest. So we touched on that a lot more last week, so I'm not going to go too much into detail on that. But basically, the minimum viable pledge for SPOs is going to be increased, and it's going to matter. So right now, it's not that big of a deal. It's more of like a marketing for delegators to show like, hey, here's my skin in the game. But when we change it on the protocol, it will matter. So there will be like a minimum amount that SPOs will have to actually be in the game. So thinking about, okay, if I don't have, we don't know what the number is going to be, but if it's 100,000 or 250,000 or whatever it is, maybe it's 10,000. I don't know, but whatever it is, I mean, you're going to have to work towards, if you don't already have that, getting that. So that might mean partnerships with others that do have that, or maybe you've already been really successful in stacking some ADA, and then you can put up that pledge. But thinking about that now, so how do you secure the pledge that you need? Um, along with that, some SPOs have come to SPOCRA, and we've noticed that they're more looking for like a passive income stream, which is fine, but you have to think about SPOs as a business. So this was all set up so that SPOs are like a stake pool is a way to fund your endeavors. So you have to have like that entrepreneurial mindset. So entrepreneurs, they look around the world and they say, hey, that's something that like I can make better in the world. I can change that. I can make things better for somebody. So that might mean like bringing a product to market. So like if there's a product that doesn't already exist and you have a great idea for that, how do you get funding to do that? Well, if you can present your ideas and potential delegators see that, they would probably want to fund your pool. And then there you go. That's how you get started for stuff like that. Or if it's not a product, maybe it's a service. So there's plenty of services that don't already exist that, I mean, don't discount yourself as somebody that can't do these kind of things. So this is exactly the reason that I wanted to bring James on today, is because I myself, like, I've never been a programmer, but I'm learning right now. This Haskell, this is what I'm learning right now. So, and I'm going to the playground sessions, and I'm working with other people, and I'm observing. I'm just taking everything in. I'm myself. I know that I'm going to be writing smart contracts. I'm already got my process flows laid out. It's just a matter of time before I fit all those puzzle pieces together and I get things working. So it's powerful. So what can you do? Maybe you don't want to learn Haskell. That's fine. Not everyone needs to learn that, but I myself, that's what I decided I wanted to do. Maybe you're already good at like front end type of development. So how can you use those skills? So just start thinking about like, what do you like to do? What do you want to change in the world? Like, what do you look around and go, if I could just do that, like they can make things better for other people. That is value. So bringing like your skills to change the world in a way that you want to make things better for others, that's what you guys need to think about.
You're making me a little emotional, dude. You know, like this, it's seriously like this is the narrative that is not yet present at all in all of the hoopla over the infrastructure bill, right? The people making decisions and having those arguments, they're not even aware of this part. And so, right. And yelling at them isn't going to help, but hopefully if we can get enough people across the line and enough people who can see, oh, cool, I have this new opportunity to contribute value, and it's real value. That's at a high level. That's the mission, and that's the only way we're going to shift the narrative. I am more confident when I'm out in the world talking to acquaintances and strangers about what I do, but it still doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And I still don't like saying the word like I'm in crypto, like that doesn't resonate with people yet.
Hey, I'm getting really quick, James. I'm getting a comment on the YouTube saying that they can't hear you.
Oh shoot, really?
I can hear you.
Let me. I was actually going to bring the mic in today, and I didn't bring it in.
It looks like it's sorted now. I don't know.
Good. Hey, maybe, yeah, let me just like talk straight at the microphone and see if that works better. Sorry. Hey,
okay, well, we're all good.
while you were talking about stake pool operators, just one surface level question that came to my mind is, what do you think about the word validator? What's the connotation of that word for you?
So like, I mean, I come from like a world of auditing. I have a quality background, primarily in manufacturing. So like when I think of that, I think of like, it's got to go through like a validation process. And like, I think of like a person like doing like some validation activities. So that's what immediately comes to my mind. But I know the validator term in like the blockchain space is, I mean, it doesn't have to be a person. Honestly, we can automate like validation activities. It's just proof of stake consensus algorithms. There is a person behind like one of those nodes. So if I think what you're getting at is like, how do you define it and like in terms of regulation? Like, I think they have it all wrong. Like a validator is not a broker. So
Right.
If that's where you're going with that.
Absolutely, that's absolutely where I'm going with it. And I love what you're saying, right? Like the term SPO captures the operator part. There's a person operating this stake pool. And the word validator is complicated for the reasons you described. But one of the things I've watched several people understand over the next few months, right? At Gimbal Labs, we really try to make space for both people who consider themselves technically proficient and people who aren't, don't consider themselves so. And because they have so many other ways to contribute value, that's not their priority, right? Like you said, your choice is to learn Haskell, but not everybody has to make that choice. But I've watched several people come to this understanding of the monetary policy of Cardano and how there's the inflation curve up to the maximum supply. And the idea is inflation is only made to bootstrap the network. And then if that part is successful, right, we're going to continue to be able to fund the network by validating transactions. And this is the piece that I think is missing in the narrative, that like you can make passive income by being a stake pool operator. Is it true? Yeah, it is. Right now, if you run a stake pool, you sure, and you saturate it, that's a top tier salary that you can make at current ADA values, right? But if you're not contributing towards the future value of the network, you're kind of just burning through the bootstrapping money.
Yes.
Right.
And those delegators that you have in your pool, if you haven't like reached out to them and they're not like in your pool because they are finding value, they're going to look around and go, ooh, what's the next big hype thing? And then they're all going to run over there. And like, we're already seeing that with some of the new players in the space. So that's only just going to continue. So cultivating like your delegator base as customers is really what you want to do.
And teaching people what it means to think long-term on this protocol, right? It's one thing to chase profits right now. And that, as it turns out, that's a compelling gateway drug, right? It gets people in the door, but it can't stop there. It can't, right? Like I would say maybe a prime KPI for our entire ecosystem is how many people who come for the money realize something else, and in what amount of time.
That's right. So it's thinking about like what you can do different to bring something that others aren't already doing. Like so there's already a lot of NFTs out there, and I think that that trend will continue for a while, and I love like what's going on in the NFT space, and it's really fun to watch and play around with. But you're going to also have to look at like what's like real world value that I can bring. And NFTs, they are going to bring some real world value, but just like a new variation of like a space buds or something like that, or other things like that, like that can only go so far. So I just challenge people to think beyond that as well. So actually, I'd like to talk about some of the opportunities within Gimbal Labs, and maybe you can just start with what's the playground session because like I myself jumped into that and I thought it was like I'm going to continue going for the foreseeable future, and I'm going to continue trying to contribute what I can to projects that I see that are worthwhile. And so yeah, I'd like you to just talk about that and give people an idea.
Opportunity. Yeah, man. And thank you for coming. I love the value you bring there, and when your your Plutus smart contract design process is ready to be presented, it'd be really fun having you in there talking through that, right? We had a smaller group meeting talking Plutus a couple of weeks ago. And that's one of the things I admire about you, right? Is that one of the first questions in your process was, hey, does this even need to be built on blockchain, right? Like that. More people need to ask that question too, right? First of all, that it's so important because it helps us have a realistic understanding of the tool, but also that question comes from a place of deep integrity, right? And we're not just going to push this thing into places it doesn't need to be. We might have some fun with it, right? You could argue whether we need to be making all these NFTs, but that's fun, right? And there's that does play a role in adoption and getting people excited, as long as it doesn't stop there. And that's really what the playground is about. Playground started accidentally. We were just, back in February, we were doing a bunch of experiments, thinking about different ways to organize people to start doing things, to start on projects that would help them learn. And our first question was, hey, isn't an event ticket an NFT? And the answer is pretty obvious. I think a lot of people have highlighted that event tickets are indeed NFTs and can be represented as such. And so we thought, okay, well, let's try to figure that out. What would that really entail? So we got a couple of people together to talk about that and quickly realized, well, are we just going to use an old-fashioned, Web 2.0 database to store the information associated with these things? Or what are the options, right? And of course, that question leads you to explore the current blockchain-based or blockchain-adjacent decentralized storage solutions. But it also pushes your thinking to assess each one on its own merits, to learn about some of the problems. And the reason I'm sharing this is hopefully you can kind of see where it goes, right? This is why we emphasize project-based learning, because you ask what sounds like a simple question. Hey, aren't event tickets NFTs? And then you find out there's all this other stuff that you have to figure out along the way, right? And so I highlight decentralized storage, but also identity questions. You have to solve those problems too, right? On and on and on. So we started getting together just to first list those questions and begin working on them. And as we did that, people kept dropping in to kind of see what we were working on. And we realized that we had to reiterate some of the ideas, right? We wanted the door to be open and to be able to get people up to speed. And so as we tried to do both things at the same time, that got a little bit frustrating. And we all started yelling at each other for a week or two, like, well, are we inviting new people in or are we getting shit done, And so that helped us kind of see we need space for both. we need a space for the door to be open and for open conversations to happen. And we need to begin defining systems where that actually results in real work. And all of us go through this process cyclically, right? You need to have a conversation to inspire an idea. But then once you have a good idea, just talking about it gets really exhausting. You just want to go build it, right? So then you go build. But then eventually you either run into a problem that you need help solving, or you finish your idea and you're ready for the next one. And so this becomes a cyclical process, right? I have a conversation, I go build something, I bring whatever I did from that building back to the conversation, and I keep leveling up that way. So Playground is simply our weekly meeting that serves the playful role in the ideation part of project-based learning, right? Yes. And I love, I mean, we've debated a few times whether or not the word playground is right. And I've been on both sides of that debate just as we think about it, but I've really come to love this word, because think about what happens on a playground, right? Elementary school playground. Well, you find out what kind of people you really want to hang out with, right? Some awkward stuff happens, but then you move on past it, right? You try things. You try jumping off the swing or doing the monkey bars, and you find out if you're good at it. You participate in a game, right? And you find out how your talents match up with other people. It's a place of exploration, and it's where kids, I know that most of my memories of elementary school are from the playground. I don't remember what happened in the third grade classroom, but I could tell you about some incidents on the playground that really defined my identity, right? And so this is
Red Rover, send James over.
Oh man, gosh, the things 8-year-olds say to each other, it's shocking. And it's like, wait, my sweet kids, they don't talk like that on the playground, do they? Absolutely not.
You'd be surprised.
So that's what's happening, and it gradually turned into a pretty predictable structure. We got a lot of help from a lot of the folks at Swarm sessions, and we helped each other to refine our ideas. I think it was Sosha who introduced, or you know what? Sosha was an advocate for Miro, but there was also Niels was talking about Miro. Anyway, like a few people brought Miro to the party, and that's why like now everybody's using it. I think the Cardano ecosystem deserves some royalties from Miro for really helping this to catch on. It's such a fabulous tool, and I think it really helps to build engagement. So we have a board open at the meeting every week that allows us to capture ideas, and you're able to have the conversation going on a few different levels. You've got the live conversation in video chat. There's a channel in Discord where some people who are just listening in the background can chime in, and then we collect and try to organize ideas on the Miro board. And the outcome is sometimes projects launch. Right? Sometimes people meet and say, okay, yeah, let's go off and work on that idea for a little while together. And so I described that cycle at the beginning, right? We try to encourage that to happen. And I'm optimistic that over time, as more people show up, we can use this structure to help launch Catalyst proposals, or even to facilitate the development of work that needs to be done once proposals are funded.
And then just so for people that don't know what Miro boards are, it's a great online tool that you can use to collaborate with others, and it's basically just like a virtual whiteboard where you can put sticky notes and organize ideas and brainstorm, and just and it's a great facilitator for the type of sessions that go on in Playground, and then also a way to document it as well. So for people that weren't able to attend the previous sessions, you can go and look and see like, oh, these are all the ideas that people had, and you can kind of skim over them. And we use visuals and colors, like visuals meaning like, okay, this is a big idea, so we make it a big post-it, and then you make like a bunch of little ones around it, and you kind of cluster things together that belong together, and it's just a great way to organize ideas.
Next week, we're having a highly technical session talking about reimagining wallets and what infrastructure is necessary to make a wallet work. I think that everybody, again, we need better language for this, but like just people who consider themselves having a high level of technical expertise and people who don't, I think everybody should know what's going on in the background of a wallet. So can you build a wallet that exposes more of that? And what infrastructure do you need to make that happen? That's the topic for next week. It'll be an exciting agenda. And then we are starting to export the Playground process. I had the privilege of presenting it to the Africa Blockchain Center for Developers. Josh is one of my original friends in the Cardano ecosystem, and he invited me to share with the team of young developers there. And then one of the Catalyst value onboarding proposals that passed, that was funded on Monday, was mine. And it's just about collecting the impressions of people who are skeptical about Catalyst and bringing people together to say, hey, all right, you haven't drank the Catalyst Kool-Aid yet. Great. These are the people we need to give a voice to, right? And we need to capture that skepticism and say, yeah, you're the people who are going to help this system become better. And so certainly going to use Playground structures to facilitate that work as well.
That's awesome to hear.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to talk, so you guys are going to be beginning discussions on wallets and stuff. Did you also want to talk about some of the work that's been going on with development of, or just like discussions of like, how do you build like a tokenized system, or is that something that we want to save for later?
Well, this is another open door, all right? Seriously, anybody is welcome to come join in this work. What I said earlier about Gimbal Labs being an organization that people are welcome to fork and change and make their own twist on that, I really hope that happens. And so as we define a token that's going to facilitate people's work within Gimbal Labs, right? And it is a utility token. We're very excited about the role it's going to play in supporting both infrastructure via Dandelion and project-based learning via the different systems we're building there. It's really exciting to bring different stakeholders together, some of whom have a direct interest in what the Gimbal token might become, and others who are there because they want to learn. They want to get firsthand experience with the theory and the questions, but they might not want to have anything to do with the Gimbal token. They just might want to sit in on these conversations and then take what they've learned to go create their own solutions for, different purposes. So those meetings are on Mondays, and anybody is welcome to come sit in on the Gimbal Labs Discord. I hope that people trust that and would reach out to you or to me to get the details on that.
Yeah, and I echo that. I mean, it's for me. I mean, I want to see Gimbal token succeed, and I want to help with that. But at the same time, it's really like wow, I never even thought about some of these things that people are bringing up. Like yeah, you really do got to think about like what does this mean, like that we're doing, and like what are the implications, and we're thinking like so macro with like everything that we've been putting together, and I don't know if you have like the mirror board within the Discord, but for people that want to like see like our past discussions and stuff like that, and like where that discussion went, I would encourage people to go look at that, because it's really like if you're thinking about building a tokenized system, and especially for like SPOs that they want to bring some kind of token offering eventually, like this would be a good framework for you guys to understand, like, okay, this is the kind of thoughts I got to have before I just launch a token, because there's the legal implications, there's like philosophical things, there's moral things, like moral ethical stuff. So you got to think about all that kind of stuff when you're bringing something to market.
Amen. And hopefully SPOs already recognize this, but just in case it bears saying, SPOs have an advantage because utility matters when you're talking about tokens. And if you have some technical chops, you're more likely to have a pathway towards some kind of utility upon which your token can be built, right? The world does not need meme coins. There's no reason to create something. Well, the world needs space coins because space coins have the utility of being an educational tool, right?
That's right.
Fuck yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hell yeah. All right.
they're not just a meme.
The world needs one space coin just for its educational utility. Nice haircut, dude. You look great.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, clean up good. It's time to go sell. Maybe I can help you do that too. So
yeah, baby. Good. But I mean, and think about it. ADA has a utility, right? Its utility is in supporting the running of a settlement layer and a hell of a lot more than that. But first and foremost, right? A globally distributed settlement layer can now run, and the utility token for that is ADA, right? At Gimbal Labs, we're following that model. I noticed, right, the SPOCRA logo is a shout out to the Cardano logo, and the Cardano logo is the whole playbook we need, right? Iterate, fractal, right? Just branching out from a center to multiple points, right?
That's right.
And this is they've shown us the playbook. Create a utility with a token on top of it, and then build from there. And that's really what we're doing with the Gimbal token. The only reason we would even consider creating one is because we have the underlying utility of Dandelion to start from. Without that, it would be disingenuous to even consider building something, in my opinion. And that's certainly an arguable point, but just where we are coming from, we believe that initial utility is essential. Sorry, and the reason I started saying that is just to prompt SPOs to think about, y'all are infrastructure providers already. You have skills that a lot of people don't have. And so what utility can you build? I bet there's something there.
That's right.
There's tons of stuff. You know, I'm so excited. This is the first time hearing that you guys are doing a token, and I'd love to, contribute to the tokenomics in any way, just chatting or talking about it, because this is totally my wheelhouse. I've been thinking about this problem for a very long time, and really close to kind of understanding how models might be able to work and integrate with Cardano pre-smart contracts, and as well as looking at it, post-smart contracts as well. So in regards to utility, now we might be able to do something with this too. Like we have Hydron. And so right now Hydron's relying on block frost. What I want to do, James, and I don't know if this makes sense, maybe for Fund 6, we could put together a joint proposal and get like 10 grand to do like a Dandelion integration into Hydron. I don't know if you guys are ready for that yet, but at some point we should do that. Just pay a developer to go off and do that. But on that note, what Hydron effectively did for us at Adoja, I've been doing on-platform token transactions for over a year now, right? My users are earning Adoja tokens. There's rewards and all kinds of things going on platform. And now all I've got to do is enable ability to accept data to load tokens on platform and to withdraw tokens off platform, and I have utility, and it's done. And so you can use something like that with an existing application where you've got an existing local currency to do something like that, because you don't want to, the users are going to want to withdraw the tokens. You don't want to pay for that. That's a lot of money. So whatever actions are accruing on platform, the user should decide when they want to draw, because there's a fee involved. You got to cover them in UTXO when you send them. So there's a lot of models, but I'd be happy to talk to anybody. We actually started doing that on Space Places. Podcast we're doing Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern is just chatting about different tokenomics models. So maybe we could potentially do that, James.
I got to drop by there. And absolutely, I think Fund 6 is great timing for that, because it will. So if it starts today, it should be wrapping up in early November. And then to deliver after that, I think certainly by November, we will have a minimum of 3 Dandelion nodes running. But I mean, I'm hoping for a heck of a lot more than that within the next few months.
And then also, I don't know if you're aware, James, there's a hackathon that ADA Makerspace is putting on later this month. Actually, later this month. I mean, this Friday. So there's opportunity there too. If they have about 80 developers that they've accrued, and they're going to be working on different challenges. So they're still accepting. If there's a challenge that you have, you can still submit that as well. So we don't even have to wait until like Catalyst. Right. Go ahead, Frog. Kyle.
Oh, sorry, I'm driving. Yeah, I mean, I could hit up Boone if you wanted to do like a Dandelion. I don't know where it's at though. We'd have to talk about, if you guys are ready, we could set the developers off to integrate with Hydron now, because I have 3 challenges that are Hydron related to scale that. If that makes sense. But I was just thinking, oh my gosh. So you guys are going to incentivize node operators. Did I get that right, James? With your token?
Like I was saying, the Cardano logo gave us the playbook.
Yeah, no, okay, cool. No, I'm looking at something very similar for a Doja, because it's centralized right now totally. And I'm not sitting there going, I'm going to do this decentralized IoT platform, but that's what I'm doing. But you got to get the reputation and do it later. So that's really awesome. If you were going to have 3 node operators, that's what you're thinking, I think that's crazy as hell. We're going to do, or at least I know I'm going to do whatever the hell I need to do to make sure we get a shit ton of node operators for you, right? Yeah.
Let's bring it. Let's do it. These guys, what Giovanni and Roberto and Joey are building right now is unbelievable. It's beautiful. And the biggest barrier to entry on being a Dandelion node operator is that you got to brush up on your Kubernetes skills first. But they're moving past that requirement by making a nice GUI and making it a lot easier to look at. It's going to be really fun to put that in people's hands. And Boone and I connected about making Dandelion available to people who are part of the hackathon.
That's a good idea.
I think the last few months have been crazy enough that we haven't followed up. But yeah, I mean, if at any point over the next few weeks, there are developers who need help using, the currently free and not yet distributed endpoints that Roberto's serving up, just send them our way and we'll show them what to do.
Awesome. Definitely do that. So we only have a few minutes left, but so some of the upcoming things that we got going on, we also have the Cardano Summit coming on end of September. And actually something really exciting, SPOCRA and Gimbal Labs, we're going to be hosting an after party after the Cardano Summit. So that's going to be awesome. We have some really good ideas. I think there's going to be sponsored tables. So like if you guys want to come by, you'll probably see like an ice sculpture of like a frog with like a lily pad and some mist coming out, and maybe maybe a Gimbal Labs logo table over here.
Yeah, we're getting quotes on ice sculptures, and I think we might overdo it. It's gonna be cool. I want it to be cool as hell. We talked about it, and I went to a party for D Mexico in Cologne, and it was unbelievable. And if we can get the lighting and the mist and the ice sculptures, I think we'll have a really good time.
Oh, they do all that. And these ice sculptures come out like pristine, like crystal. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're unbelievable. Yeah, cool. It's gonna be fun.
Where's that going to be shipped from?
Cheyenne. So it's only
Oh, not
a
bad.
town over, really. So
Great.
we're gonna be in Laramie.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really fun time.
So pumped. Really excited to set a date for that as soon as we know more info.
Well, I think we got a date. I don't want to announce it on here, but I'll shoot it to you.
Rock and roll.
We got it kind of a leak. So
Good. Good.
so I'll just end with saying that definitely go by Gimbal Labs. They got their Discord server and also the Gimbal Labs website. Where can they reach out to you personally if anyone wants to talk to you, James?
The easiest place is to find me on Discord. My handle is my first name and last name, so you can see those in the corner of my picture right here on the screen. So just at me there, and I'll find you.
Awesome. So yeah, they have regular sessions, and then everyone's always welcome to come by SPOCRA Mighty Network. It's just SPOCRA.io, and we have our regular Saturday public meetings at 1700 UTC. And then we do these Wednesday live streams on specific topics. So yeah, thank you so much, James. This has been an awesome talk.
Thanks, guys. Do you mind if I say something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So there's a lot of commotion going on in the community relative to Meld right now. I don't know if you've seen that, Ron, this morning.
Yeah, with World Mobile.
So James, what I'm doing is I'm scrambling to have a token distribution platform for a Doja where people will go into a doja.com and they can basically enter their stake address and track them and basically withdraw tokens back to a 100 epochs for pools they've been delegated to. And I'm including a wider range of stake pools, anything with a fee of 1.75% to 6% that was registered before the Mary Hard Fork. And I think there's another requirement of 50K pledge or something. So it's a whole lot of delegators, but it's a tool for me to distribute a Doja tokens. Would you be interested in including your token in that distribution as well? I'd have to change some code, but we can just stack it up and do a separate hydrant call. I was looking at maybe doing that with space coins, but strategically for me is it gives me distribution out there and it gives interest out there. And that's my counter to these guys giving all their rewards to Meld for a token that may or may not work. At least give them something for free. And I would be interested in, instead of having them have one token, they could maybe withdraw 2 tokens or 3 tokens. You see what I'm saying? Something like that. So if that's something you guys would want to partner with on a distribution mechanism, we could incorporate that, and that's not really any cost or anything because I just have to build it and the users are still paying the withdrawal fee. So I just want to throw that out there.
I love it. And the common thread is that both the Doja coins and Gimbal tokens, they serve this technical utility. Yeah, let's definitely follow up on that.
Okay. All right.
That's really exciting.
I'm launching my stuff in a couple weeks or in a couple of days. I'm scrambling, but I will look at it and start to architect the code to incorporate a second token.
Cool. We're a couple of weeks behind you because we're trying to be really happy with the theory, and we're trying to get a big group of people to come to consensus on it. So as you know, that's the hard part.
Totally fine.
Once we get that part, we'll do the math.
No rush. Yeah, whatever. I just want to throw it out there that
Awesome.
I'm picky about the types of projects I would support, but I don't have to think twice with you, brother.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Thanks, Ron, and thanks, Kyle. I love you guys. I really appreciate what you're doing, and thanks for the vibes that you're putting out there and the work you're doing for the community.
Thank you.
Likewise, James.
Love you, man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See you guys in town hall.
Hey, see you at town hall.
All right. Take care. Bye, guys. Is town hall right now, Ron?
Yep. Starting right now.
Okay. That's the meeting I couldn't get into.